Hi, I'm Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding our passage through this challenging and very hopeful time. This is the care and feeding of a New World Age report for the Gregorian date of October 27th, 2012, which is One Serpent in the Mayan Tzolkin calendar. And we're also going to discuss Venus moving into Libra, Mercury moving into Sagittarius, the Taurus full moon, and of course, Mercury turning retrograde on election day in the USA. October 27th is One Chichan, or Serpent, which carries the themes of unity, flexibility, fluidity, movement, creation of time, Kundalini, bringer of rain, the sky serpents, blood lightning, passion, the life force that flows through everything, the energy that connects our primal root electricity with our spiritual expression, and the transcendence of duality, samadhi. Serpents are important in many different cultures, from Kundalini of the Hindi chakra system to the blood lightning of the Mayan tradition, to the Greek serpent eating its own tail, which represents life, death, and rebirth, and is often associated with Gnosticism. It represents eternity. In China, the snake was replaced with the dragon eating its own tail. In Aboriginal Australia, the rainbow serpent is the guardian of life and fertility, water, and other precious resources. And of course, we have the Mayan god Quetzalcoatl, who is the feathered or plumed serpent, god of wind, giver of breath, but also the creator deity. And when he descended into the land of the dead to gather up precious bones, which he then sprinkled with his own blood to create humans. Anyway, this 13-day period is about, an important time to connect with spirit, to have faith in your journey, experience gratitude in the moment, and let love guide your actions. Astrologically, the One Serpent Tzolkin, or 13-day period, begins with Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune retrograde as Mercury begins to slow down as it approaches the point where it will turn retrograde on November 6th. I showed the mechanics of retrograde planets in the One Sun Care and Feeding from August 23rd, 2012, and then last time on October 14th for the One Road Care and Feeding, I used this diagram here to illustrate the three phases of the retrograde cycle as seen from the Earth. What I'd like to discuss this time is the energy related to Mercury when it is far out and way out in front of the sun, and then retrogrades back to conjoin the sun, and then falls behind the sun. Prior to mechanized warfare, generals would send their cavalry out ahead of their infantry to scout the enemy's locations, find possible resources, as well as looking at the lay of the terrain to move troops with maximum efficiency, safety, and also to their strategic advantage. And when I think about Mercury, when it's way stretching out in front of the sun, it's out there like gathering intelligence, like the cavalry, to report back to our consciousnesses when it is conjunct the sun, and which will be happening on November 17th. So I'm going to use these two markers here to kind of illustrate the energy between the two of them. And I'm just hoping that you'll see the pattern that I'm trying to describe. We're going to look at Mercury being represented by the black marker, and the sun will be this red marker. And so when they're together, Mercury starts to move out in front of the sun, and as we can see, it creates tension, it's stretching, and then it turns retrograde. And as it's moving back, it conjuncts the sun, then the sun moves past as it continues to retrograde, and then it creates tension on the other end as it slowly then comes back to the sun, and this cycle continues over and over again. And so what happens is when we have this Mercury way out in front of the sun, it's out gathering this information, and it really becomes easier to become overwhelmed by the increase of new information that seems to have no place to be deposited. And this can increase our anxiety or our sense of even losing control. But then, as Mercury enters into its retrograde cycle, that tension decreases, as we can see with the rubber band, until it merges with the sun, where then we're finding the destination for the intelligence that has been gathered. And then once it moves behind the sun, Mercury almost feels as though it's creating a drag that retards possible implementation of the new data until it begins to move forward, which will be, in this case, on November 26th. And then it starts to move to pursue the sun from reverse. Another thing that's really interesting for me was I had recently read an article by Carol Jackson where she reported that Mercury retrogrades follow a 79-year cycle where the retrogrades have an exactness and cover the same sign and the same degrees. And approximately the same calendar days, as a quote from Carol. So I became really interested in this, and so I went and looked at our current cycle to see if it matched the retrograde from 1933, would have been 79 years ago. And what I found in looking at this and other periods of 79 degrees is there is actually a slight shift of 28 minutes as to the location of the retrograde point, which is still very, very tight, but it's not exact. But it was certainly inspiring enough to warrant further investigation. And then what stuck out to me is the realization that 1933 was one of the years of the previous Uranus-Pluto squares. At that point, we had Uranus in Aries, just like it is now, and Pluto was in Cancer. Which was, and that Uranus-Pluto square in 1933 was exact just a few days before the November 9th, 1933 Mercury retrograde. And this was a historical period of time of global financial decline and increase in fascism. But what I was curious about was what were the specific dates, what was happening on those specific dates of the Mercury retrograde. And what I found was in the United States, alcohol prohibition was repealed just a few days after Mercury turned direct. But also of interest was this was the time period when the U.S. federal government outlawed cannabis through a series of acts that were designed to oppress people of color rather than protect the health and well-being of the citizens. And when I look at this with a lens at our current retrograde cycle, take that lens that from 1933 and look at this current retrograde cycle where we have this Uranus-Pluto square and Neptune and Pisces, along with a great influx of data supporting both medicinal properties of marijuana and then the economic and environmental benefits of industrial hemp. I can't help but thinking that there is some real interesting cosmic timing coming into play during this Mercury retrograde cycle. So anyway, here are the details of the daily energy of this Trecena. On October 27th, it's One Serpent, which is about unity through flexibility. As the Aries moon merges with Uranus, is challenged by Pluto, supported by Mars, harmonizes with Jupiter, the day begins with unpredictability that moves toward the compulsion to act based on deep-seated emotions, and then later shifts to feelings of empowerment, opportunity, and a real positive outlook. The 28th is then two transformation. This is about duality experienced through letting go of what no longer serves us as Venus enters Libra, which will begin 3 weeks of more harmonious, pleasant, and polite energy in our relationships. And then we also have Mars as opposite Jupiter, which brings the energy to break free of restriction or push back against obstacles. And these are in the signs of Sagittarius and Gemini, which are about increase through communication and travel, which may come in the form of people asserting themselves or blurting out their beliefs to an audience that favors the opposing view. With the moon being without any aspects, this probably would be a good day just to take it easy and integrate all these most recent changes instead of going out and getting involved in a bar brawl. Anyway, October 29th is 3 Deer. This is about taking action through being of service to others as Mercury enters into Sagittarius and is challenged by Neptune, which it ushers in an optimistic view of life, a sense of faith, and seeing the big picture until Mercury will then retrograde back into Scorpio on November 14th. In this aspect to Neptune, for a day or so, we have the potential for confusion about the details of the mundane daily events, but we also have wonderful potential to connect with spiritual realms through being in nature or engaging in inner work, meditation, yoga, tai chi, anything that's, connecting us back in with ourselves and in with that spiritual realm. All of this is included in the Taurus full moon chart, which the full moon is opposed by the Sun and Saturn in Scorpio, harmonizing with Neptune in Pisces, supported by Pluto in Capricorn. I see this as a very positive for visualizing a goal or making a commitment or being grateful for opportunities as a gateway for manifesting even greater abundance. This could be a material abundance, but more likely this is going to be expanded vision of life and well-being. And the 30th is 4-star. This is stability found through appreciating abundant relationships with the Scorpio Sun in harmony with Pluto in Capricorn. This brings a few days to seize opportunities and use this kind of strange creative energy that comes from this harmony between Pluto and the Sun for the benefit of the greater good. This is more of a collective benefit, but also for spiritual empowerment. If you happen to gain something from being creative personally, that's just icing on the cake. This is really a wonderful creativity that has a purpose for others. And this is another day that has really no lunar aspects, which is great for integrating the various recent information, energy, and experiences through taking some downtime. And then we have October 31st. This is 5 offering. This is empowerment through being in harmony with creation, with the Gemini moon being challenged by Neptune, opposed by Mercury, and supported by Venus. The day's emotional energy shifts from fantasies being more important than reality, which really seems appropriate for those out celebrating Halloween or the beginning of Samhain. And later it brings conflict between feelings and reason. And finally, there's this pleasant feeling for those in our immediate environment. And then November 1st, we've got 6 Dog, which is about being in the flow through enjoying family and friends, as Venus is opposed by Uranus, which is going to begin activating the Pluto-Uranus square for the next few days. But also, given that we're talking about Uranus, it could have actually begun its impact a day or two early. Uranus tends to jump the gun, be ahead of the punch there. Venus is about relationships. Uranus is about unexpected change, which may be positive. Sometimes people think of unexpected change as always negative, but it could be positive. And then when Pluto comes in, this could bring contact from past lovers as it interacts with Venus. So you might have several days when our undead former intimate relationships reappear or contact us unexpectedly. With Venus interacting in this interaction, it's likely to remain positive. And then on that day, we also have the moon in Gemini, stimulated by Uranus, merging with Jupiter. The day begins with a pleasant yet restless moon, and then later brings good feelings and generosity. November 2nd is 7 Monkey. This is about reflection through creating new beginnings, as the moon is opposed by Mars, which brings a few hours of folks feeling irritable. And then the 3rd, we've got 8 Road. This is about balance through being a service to others. As this is the day where Venus is actually exact and being challenged by Pluto, which is particularly potent for running into our past lovers. So try to remain cordial, even if you'd rather express the more negative aspects of your persona. We also have on that day, the third is the Cancer moon, which is about finding support, and it's finding some support from Neptune and Saturn. They're all in water signs, so this gives us a grand trine, but it's also being challenged by Uranus and Venus, which are opposing each other, and opposing Pluto, which gives us a grand square. So this day has both very positive early in the day energy, and then very challenging emotional energy later on. And this all ranges from daydreams to contentment to pleasant feelings being shared with others, to hasty actions and jumping to conclusions and emotional conflicts in relationship. November 4th, this is 9 read. This is patience through appreciating home and family, with the moon in Cancer, finding support from the Scorpio sun, which is really very pleasant and can really bring this sense of harmony. And then the 5th, this is 10 Jaguar. This is about manifestation through being in nature, as the Leo moon is challenged by Saturn and supported by Mercury, which these are two energies that conflict. Mercury is about increasing social interactions, and Saturn is about feeling isolated and lonely and not wanting to interact socially. So I think, this is a day where there's really an opportunity to choose which energy that you want to identify with. And then we have November 6th. This is 11 Eagle, which is about resolution through seeing from a higher perspective. And this is the day that Mercury turns retrograde. It also happens to be election day in the United States. And I've been asked for my perspective on the astrology of this presidential election. And even though this audience here for New World Birth is a global audience, I believe that America is collapsing in its role as empire, but I still think its leadership still has influence. So I'm going to share my predictions with this international audience. So if you're not interested, just please bear with me. But first of all, the thing that's interesting is on this election day, this is the day Mercury turns retrograde, on the day of the election. And I believe that what we're going to see is either real or manufactured breakdown of the voting machines, which is going to lead to people really questioning the validity of the results. And if you think back to the 2000 presidential election, Mercury was just moving from retrograde into direct. It turned direct the exact day after that election. And think of how many breakdowns we had in the process that left us without knowing the outcome of the presidential race between Bush and Gore for like several weeks. Probably when it finally cleared the shadow. This is going to bring many to question whether the system has stolen the election from the voters. And as far as who I believe will eventually fill this role as figurehead for America, because these are just puppets we're talking about, I think in looking at the Uranus-Pluto square that will continue to be active during the next president's term, Pluto in Capricorn is about tearing down the old world order. And then Uranus in Aries is the challenge to overthrow the system. So I think this configuration really favors Romney over Obama. And it's interesting because Obama was really the Uranus candidate in the last election in 2008. Obama, it was that on that day we had Uranus in opposition to Saturn. And I really saw Obama as, saying hope and change and, that he was really pulling the Uranus end of the equation. I don't think he served Uranus in his presidency. And so anyway, I think there's two reasons really that I think that Romney will emerge as the winner of this contest here. One represents the change in the established leadership, But more importantly, I think it will lead to having the typical figurehead of oppression in the United States, which we've had a long history of rich, conservative, old white males as the front man. In this case, he'll be removing the safety net from people when they need it most and acting as the global schoolyard bully, going and beating up every other nation, and which I wish there was something that I could do that had influence here, but I feel like the political system in America is a farce. It's we're a fascist state. Anyway, schoolyard bully, Pluto and Capricorn, but this will provide us a familiar target for the uprising when the second American Revolution occurs, Uranus and Aries. So honestly, if you desire a different result, please vote or visualize and meditate on the future you see as being beneficial for all humans, and get other like-minded people to go out and vote as well. So anyway, from the 6th to the 26th, the standard Mercury retrograde strategies apply, such as waiting to sign contracts or make major decisions like electing a president, and allowing more time to experience, because we're going to be experiencing problems with communication, technology, and transportation. So, this is the beginning of the retrograde cycle. It was 2 weeks in 2020, in the year 2000. God knows how long it's going to take for us to sort out who's going to be president this time, unless there's just a major coup, and then it's who cares, Anyway, emotionally, we have the last quarter moon in Leo, finding support from Uranus in harmony with Venus and Jupiter, and then challenged by the Sun. The day begins with craving emotional excitement, and then shifts to wanting to be with loved ones, and then later feeling good and having congenial interactions, yet feeling tension regarding home and some of our closest relationships. And then the 7th, this is 12, wisdom, understanding through introspection, meditation, and forgiveness, with the moon finding support from Mars, which brings energy to assert ourselves in a positive manner. And then November 8th is 13, Earth. This is movement to the next stage through gratitude for Mother Earth, as the Virgo moon is opposed by Neptune, stimulated by Saturn, challenged by Mercury, and supported by Pluto. The day begins with sensitivity to others, and might not be accurate. So you might be feeling sensitive about something, think you really know what's going on with the other person, and be completely off base with that energy. But then later, it really wants to be alone in our thoughts and feelings, while others may want to be critical in their communications. And finally, bringing out a little more of intense emotions that seem to emerge from deep within our psyches, which that wraps up the Trecena. So no matter what the energies are that are affecting you during this One Serpent Tzolkin, take some time out to be in the flow of the planet by being in nature, watching a sunrise or a sunset, communing with the stars, being conscious of the moment through introspection, meditation, really consciously being with somebody you love, being fully present with them. Every single day we have is a blessing, no matter what dramas are beckoning to distract us. We're all here just given the performance of our lifetime on the world stage. But it's important to take some time out to observe the play, be aware of what's going on in your life, as well as act your part, so that you can remember you're a spiritual being having a human experience. Anyway, thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of Care and Feeding of a New World Age will be on November 9th for One Flint, and we're going to discuss Neptune turning direct, the Scorpio new moon and solar eclipse, Mars retrograding back into Scorpio, Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio, Mars moving into Capricorn, the Sun moving into Sagittarius, and Venus moving into Scorpio. So there's just a lot going on in that 13-day period coming up. You can check us out on Facebook, which has all the text from these reports put out every day. YouTube, where the videos are right back to the very first one. Man Magic's website has a page for New World Birth, which I'm very, very grateful for. And that actually has all the testimonials from folks who've gotten readings. Anyway, I invite you to email me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com. If you got any questions about this report or you wish to schedule a reading, I am providing readings and wish to make this available to the greatest amount of folks. So I've created 3 options with 3 levels of compensation. These readings are really designed to help provide information to help you navigate these difficult times that we're currently moving through. At the basic level, we're going to look at your human design chart to help you understand how to use your individual strategy and authority to make decisions, make your life decisions based on your own unique design. And then I include the next 3 months of astrological transits as they relate to your natal and progressed astrology charts, along with the human design reading at the middle level. And then at the top level, the human design and astrology transit reading will be recorded and sent to you as an MP3 file that you can download onto your computer, so you can listen to it over and over again while looking at all the charts that I send to you. So really, if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to either be able to call me in Maine in the USA or connect with Skype to receive your reading. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time out to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey in this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste and Lakesh. I'll catch you next time.